racing like never before. Introducing Racing X.
Chautauqua very late. Can he do it? Chautauqua, he's flying.
Right side throw, touchdown.
Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang!
Green scores. Yes, she got up.
He's just perfect. And that's
Sweet it is. Collingwood win the grand final.
It's time.
Welcome to Racing Xtra, powered by Corpshaw. I'm your host, Bella King, and joining me as always is Luke Dittman, who is currently like a kid at Christmas with the NFL season about to kick off. We also have Jack Jeffries, who is a fellow NFL enthusiast and Racing X ambassador. You missed out on a Ripper episode last week, Jack, but we're happy to have you back.
Big time. I'm absolutely gutted, but I did get to see it. It looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely a bit controversial, that's for sure. And this week, our friends at Pickering Luxury Garage picked up our special guest, gun Gold Coast trainer Adam Campton in a beautiful Mercedes G-Wagon. What'd you think about that car, Campo?
It's a lot better than the Toyota Land Cruiser that I drive. No, it's pretty special. It's good.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad. Now, we had a massive episode last week, guys. What did you all think about Benny Scarfe?
Oh, God, he's a bit of a personality, that's for sure. I wish I was here to meet him, but I think I'll let you guys take this away as you got to sit next to him and shake his hand, so go for it.
Yeah, it was. He said a couple of controversial things to say the least. But look, whether you disagree or agree with his opinion, he's getting people into racing, and that's the whole aim of our show, is for the betterment of the game, is to bring eyes on the sport. And look, he got the clicks to do that. Like I said, whether you agree with it or not, you did the job.
Absolutely. Now, Adam, thank you so much for joining us this week as our special guest on Racing Extra. Now, you have quite the extensive racing resume. Your family has a long lineage in the industry. You've worked as a bookie, is that right?
That's correct.
You went over to Hong Kong and worked with the Jockey Club over there with young investors.
Yep.
Now you're back on the Gold Coast, training in your own right, and you've truly cemented yourself in the Australian training ranks. You took out your local premiership on just your second season of training with none other than a quintet on the last day of the season. So firstly, congratulations. That's a massive effort.
No, thank you. It's still a long way to go. Yeah, some mornings you wake up and you definitely wouldn't mind bookmaking again or living in Hong Kong. But it's a good game. It's a rewarding game. It's good having great days like that. But as I always say, it's a big team effort and still got plenty of work to go. It's only our third season now training. So got big goals that I want to achieve. And it's like any young trainer, you want to train the big winners. So yeah, got plenty of a way to go now.
Definitely. And like I said, your family's been in racing for a long time. Your father was a Group 1 winning jockey.
Yep.
Went on to train. Was a career in racing always on the cards for you?
No, not at all. I don't know what Luke was like as a young fella, but I wasn't really into racing. I loved watching it, but I didn't like being around it. Just, my stepbrother was a jockey. Dad was racing 24/7. Pop was racing. Everyone wanted to do it. I was more cricket, football, tried to skateboard. I was terrible. So, yeah, I think that was more just me being a young fella trying to do my own thing. But it came a time when I was, 12, 13. I remember walking to school every day and to the bus stop, and I used to try and get the best bets, all the sportsmen, and that's when I sort of knew that the bug was getting me. Dad tried to push me away as much as possible, but it was never an idea to want to train as a young fella. I always loved animals. I still do, but I mean, that was probably the one thing that definitely got me into training. And yeah, I wouldn't have said, when I was 12 years old or I've been a trainer, I would have said definitely not.
Do you ever feel the pressure? Like obviously coming from a similar background with family in the game, do you think it helped or hindered you having that background? And was there a spotlight on you when you sort of stepped into the game?
Yeah, I think it helped us, but it did definitely hinders you as well. You've always got people watching you. Doesn't matter what you do in this game. You've got knockers, a bit like Benny. You're loved or hated, which it's water off a duck's back to me. Really, I don't really care. I've had good people help me and get to where I am, and if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I am very lucky. But yeah, at the same time, there's pressure. I'm not a good loser. I don't know if anyone is. So, but yeah, I'm lucky. I got Dad a phone call away. Unfortunately, Pop passed away a few years ago, but he taught me plenty when I was growing up. And also got, like, as you said, Gerald, a phone call away. That really does help. So, I'd probably say I'm a bit luckier, but yeah, you're right. At times it does hinder you.
It's always the old adage, like I can show you the door, but you've got to walk through it, and that's the view I've taken on it. Like, yes, I got to shake a lot of hands because my old man was my old man, but
Yep.
they don't put you on the back of a horse, or they don't give you a horse if you're no good at what you do. So the fact that you're successful, look, take it, training premiership, 5 winners on the last day of the season, it's pretty huge. By the way, did we back all of them?
No, a mate of mine had a good multi. He was going in the last leg. I think Takiri was the favourite, so he took it instead of Gregarious. But, I used to love having a punt, but I don't, I'll have a punt every now and again now. But, you just go to the race and want your horses to run well. Obviously your owners and everyone wants to have a bet. But I think just getting over the season, it was a stressful, you want to win. I know it was only a Gold Coast premiership, but I didn't want to get beat. I definitely wanted to beat Toby. So it was a rewarding day, and to do it with 5 winners, it was special. But, I had a quiet night, a couple of beers, and then went home to bed and more or less woke up the next morning and thought we're going to be better next
Start all
season.
over again,
Yeah, spot on.
That's it.
So, Campo, you showed us all that you can train a horse. Been around it your whole life, mate. Have you ever wanted to jump on and ride yourself a winner?
Oh, sometimes I think I can, but when a jockey doesn't give it the best ride. But as a young fellow, I used to go over to my Malcolm Johnston's Blake, my cousin, and he used to train out of a place with a track, and we used to jump on, and it was just a bull at a gate. We had no idea what we were doing. Blake could ride. He actually did pony club. I never did. No, I never wanted to get on a horse. And I think now, I wouldn't mind riding a bit of track work, but
Yeah.
I'd have to lose a few kegs before doing that. And you're probably the right man to do it for me.
I'll give you a hand, don't worry.
But no, I'll leave that up to the professionals.
Fair enough.
Now, you've done a little bit of everything in this industry, but I assume your move to Hong Kong would have been instrumental in setting yourself up for the career you have now. What was it like making that decision to uproot your life and move over?
Yeah, it was tough. I've always been the sort of person that I'll have a crack at anything. If it doesn't work, you can always go home. That was my belief at the time. I was very new in our relationship with my partner Taylor. I was very lucky to, for her to say yes and go over there. So, I was very wet between the ears. I got over there. I didn't even have a house to stay. I had nothing. We just said we'll find when we get over there. So we'll stay in hotels for a bit. The club were awesome. Obviously, they were supporting us. And
Would have been cheap.
oh, it's not cheap. I didn't realise that as well. We were looking at places that and the likes of probably Zach Burton could afford, and then you had to go and look at the one bedrooms. You're like, well, how are we going to live here? But it definitely changed me from a boy to a man. I got some incredible contacts and made some great friends out of Hong Kong, and it's a place that even I said on the weekend, I said to Taylor, we're driving home, so I said it doesn't feel right without Sunday racing. We still watch it all the time. And yeah, it's a place that definitely helped me get to where I am today. If I didn't go to Hong Kong, I definitely wouldn't be training on the Gold Coast. And it's a second home.
Yeah.
Do you think, obviously Hong Kong is the best model in the world. They just do racing better than everywhere else. Do you think there's a way that Australia can implement something that they have? And if there is, what is it?
A lot of people have asked me that question. It's very hard. They've only got the 2 tracks, a limited amount of horses, trainers, jockeys. Probably the best thing for trainers is the bills are always paid. The owners always pay the bills, and if they don't, it's pretty much see us
It'd
later.
be nice if Australia did that. You build the turf club, and the turf club bills the owners. It
Be
makes
outstanding.
the
If you want to
job a
start
lot-
that model, I'll definitely support you. That's probably one big thing. They've got incredible facilities. Everything's done to perfection, pretty much. If we could get something, probably I like how they have a bit of a break. I know that you want to race your horses, and your owners pay for you to race your horses, and you do that. But I think the way these tracks are going at the moment, we need to have a break. Otherwise, we're going to continue to ruin good tracks all around Queensland, not just Queensland, Australia, really. So it's a hard decision to make for people to have a break, especially when you've got to pay bills. You need prize money coming in. But yeah, I think that's the best thing they do. They have the 6 weeks off at the end of the season and regroup, start again. Everyone has a bit of a refresh, and it's like racing. It's non-stop.
The first, especially here, like you as a jockey or a trainer, you can go to the races 5 times a week if you want to. Plus the 3:30 a.m. wake up 6 days a week. Like there needs to be a break at some point.
Correct, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is I think what you guys are doing with trying to attract the younger generation is it's great. Trying to get the younger generation to work in racing is very tough. I was up the other morning at 3:30 and got home at 7 o'clock at night from Gatton. You know, you come home, you cook dinner, you're in bed at 8:30, you're still looking at the roof. You know what I mean? They're long days, and for young people, you've got to be pretty bloody driven, or you really want to be a trainer or a jockey to get up and do that.
And if you don't love the horse, there's no excitement for you there to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, you can get a job in retail, you can get a job at a nightclub or whatever it might be, but it's hard to do the split shift to get similar money that you could be working a 9 to 5. So I get it. I don't envy your trainers or the staff that work those hours.
It's absolutely spot on. You know, we try and Taylor and I'd like to think I'm a good boss. We try and go to the races as much as we can, and give the staff a break. They need it. They're going long hours, and they do a lot more behind the scenes than what I do. But there's days where you just can't go to the races. You've got to look after owners, or you got
to trust someone. You have to trust someone.
Exactly right, and that's a big thing. I'm very lucky. I've got incredible staff, like who I can trust in my life, and that's what makes your job a lot easier. If you don't have that, I couldn't imagine what training horses would be like. I still struggle at times. Don't worry. I went to Sydney for 2 days the other night. I was like, get me home. But
so you won't be going for a beer after this? Straight back into the stable?
It's straight back home. I'm actually with the chiropractor at 1:30.
Never stops.
So no, but I love it. Like, it's my life. I chose to do it. I'm a big believer in, if you can win as much as you want, no one's going to listen. So I'm very lucky that I've got Taylor who supports it, because I know what it was like when I was growing up. Mum wasn't 100% wanting to go to the races, and Dad was all about the races. So
she's a bloody hard worker too.
She is, and that's what makes my job so much easier. So it's a big team effort, but you're right. The younger people, if you've got a good work ethic, they definitely you can spot them before you see the other kids coming through.
It is a rewarding game if you get in early, but yeah, it's tough hours, very tough hours.
It is.
Now, Camper, you said you like the 6-week break over there, a bit of time to let the hair down and have some fun. Can you let us know what it's like for you over there in Hong Kong? What did you do? Like, plenty of yum cha, getting the bottles out in the clubs? What got your world going around?
Yeah, I did a bit of all that.
Can we talk about Lang Kwai Fong?
Yeah, it's a great joint. I've been there a few times. Walked down the street, rolled down the road. It become like, at first it's a great place. You just want to go out all the time, but it becomes your home, so you're not always out. But you always got people coming over, family, friends. You're taking them out to Monday night, and you're blind drunk in Lang Kwai Fong listening to KCN or some crap. But it's a great place. But yeah, I've seen some incredible things from young people, just like you guys more so. Plenty of money. They got plenty of money to spend, and they got boats, they've got champagne, they do whatever they want. They got nightclubs, but I think it's a lifestyle. It's a great lifestyle. It's a bit of a playground, in my opinion, and I think it's a bit sad at times too, because they haven't really seen what it's like to live the real life. But in saying that, they probably live a great life. But I mean, they wouldn't, they probably wouldn't have grown up like how we would have grown up, going jump on a bike and fall over and roll in the mud. That doesn't happen. A lot of them are brought up on big yachts worth 80 million and stuff like that. But yeah, great people, and yeah, I've seen some good things over there.
So your role with the Hong Kong Jockey Club was managing the young investors, correct?
Yep.
So like you said, you've seen some young people with some insane amount of money and just a complete different lifestyle to the racing, especially that we see in the young people we see in Australia. I'm curious to know, though, what that role actually looks like in a day-to-day basis.
So it was more, I was bookmaking before that. Richard was the boss of mine in Hong Kong, and he got me over and he said, they're all a lot about turnover and betting, which obviously keeps the HKJC going. But it was more or less, how do we attract the younger generation, where the older generation are the ones that have always had the horses, the owners, but a lot of their younger kids are a bit more savvy with their money, so they don't want to spend as much.
Yeah, the money goes to waste very quickly with horses, doesn't it?
Correct. So, and they also don't have the love for the horse either. They don't, they you've got to be 18 to go to the races in certain, 90% of the time over there. They do have kids' days and stuff like that. But I think it was the hardest thing with a lot of kids that don't have, they weren't interested in racing at all. They just go there on a Sunday to have lunch with mum and dad. So, as I was saying on the way out here, you can't go and get your Zach Purton jersey or your, Brett Preble jersey. It's you go and get your favourite basketball, NFL. It's hard to attract against different sports. But I think what you guys are trying to do, people like Benny Scarfe, you love him or hate him, but he's doing a great job for the industry to try and get young people in. They are incredible athletes, jockeys. So, hopefully a lot of younger people can try and attract to that. It wasn't a tough job at all. It was pretty easy, but it
Few
was,
free lunches, I'm sure.
yeah, free lunches and a lot of, I used to love just going to the races. I go to the races every Wednesday and Sunday, and that was my favourite part of the week. But I think there was the one thing that was wanting me to come home. There was just no challenge to it. It
Yeah.
was getting boring, and it's not what I wanted to do. So 5 years I was there. The last 2 years I just went to track work a fair bit and learn off the great trainers, and kept it a bit quiet that I was coming home. But I was lucky to get the position. Otherwise, I wouldn't have learnt what I did learn.
Yeah.
Talking about obviously coming home and setting up a training base, what was it like trying to get owners on board? And you've almost got to convince people that
Correct.
you're good enough. So what was that process like for anyone who's looking to step into a role?
Tough. My first horse was Lord Markle, who, I was blessed. He was a tough bugger that won my first ever race for me, first race. So, it proved a few people wrong, but also, everyone was like, you got to keep doing it. Kevy Payne, who owns Xtra, he was the guy who gave me my first ever horse, and I'm, indebted to him for the rest of my life. I'll never forget that. But it was daunting, a lot of promises, and you didn't get those promises, which was tough. But just knuckled down and kept trying to prove a point that I can train. But yeah, I was lucky. I had good people around me. And Taylor was very supportive. I'm very lucky that I had her, mum and stepdad and Darren to support us. Without them, I definitely wouldn't be in the position I'm in. So to have that support was great. But starting with one horse and now we've got around 120 on the books. It's a big step up. But as I say, you've got to have a good team behind you, and good owners is the main thing. I think Queensland is behind in a lot of things. A lot of trainers need to come together and work together instead of being against each other all the time, and try and make a change. Because if we can follow places like New South Wales or Melbourne, Victoria, sorry, we can improve out of sight, I think.
Definitely. And from your experience, both international and Australian, what gaps do you think the Australian market has in attracting both new workers and a new audience? Where do you think we can improve the most?
A lot. We can improve a lot, I believe. It's Hong Kong is different. As I said, there's not as many horses, and the money is for the trainers. It's they could have 60 staff. We've got 48 in work, and say 4-5 ground staff. We're over there, they'd have 20. I think obviously boosting prize money is going to help. And working together is a big thing. I think each jurisdiction's so against each other instead of trying to work with each other and trying to make a big national, organisation that we can all work together as one. I think would definitely help. Maybe if we could get Volandis up here, it'd probably help. But yeah, I think it's just I'm not money driven. I've never been a money driven person, but to pay your bills, you need money.
Absolutely.
So prize money is a big thing. Like even work cover up here, it's so bloody expensive, which obviously everyone's trying to work on that at the moment. But, in New South Wales, they do it differently. The percentage comes in and you don't have to worry about it. You worry about it, but I mean, it's not like what we have to deal with. So, yeah, I think there's a lot we could go on with, but I think we'd be here for hours.
Do you reckon
Very true.
consolidating a tote would help?
Big chance, for sure. And
Like
certain.
we talk about Australian racing and how good Australian racing is, but
Yep.
the reality of it is it's Victoria versus Sydney, or Melbourne versus Sydney, Sydney versus Queensland, and Queensland versus Perth. It's not Australian racing, and then you've got 3 totes to bet into.
Correct.
Like if we had a pooled tote and we had everyone betting into one pool and the money spread out evenly.
I couldn't agree more. But that's for a lot.
Smarter men than us.
That's why Hong Kong's so lucky. There's one tote. Everything goes into that one tote, and they can spend as much as they want.
Well, even the world pools, like look how
Correct.
big that is at the moment when they conjoin it with the Hong Kong races or Derby Day or Melbourne Cup Day.
Spot on.
Millions of dollars in that.
Speaking of Hong Kong races, I'm curious to know what we're all thinking and looking forward to with this new season, especially Dave Eustace kicks off. How's he going to fit in with the big dogs? What are you guys thinking?
Dave's, I think he definitely fit in. He's a young trainer. He's very approachable, good looking bloke, smart, good horseman. I I think the Hong Kong people have already started to fall in love with him. I had an owner over here the other day, and his wife said straight away, "Oh, I see the good-looking one." So he's
Bush Taylor in the background.
Yeah, get away. No, he's approachable. You know, he was even talking about data and little things like that, which a lot of trainers over there wouldn't do much of that.
Yeah.
Which obviously we work with a lot of data, and it's a lot of younger people now trying to change the game. I think he's going to be a great trainer.
The world's his oyster, really. He's in the best jurisdiction for horse racing. He's got a European connection with his last name. He's got Kieran behind him. I'm sure there'll be horses coming from Australia and Europe to his camp. Look, he's a brilliant trainer. He's proven that with Kieran. As your Campo was saying, he's personable, and if he fails, I
think
just don't know how he fails.
One thing I probably noticed the biggest in Hong Kong at the moment is a bit of a change in the guard. The locals are starting to, you know, prove how good they are. Francis Lloyd, Frankie Law, Pierre, a good mate of mine. It's his second season training over there. He's missed out on the last day of winning the premiership, which is an incredible feat to even be where he is.
Definitely.
I think the local owners want that local trainer so they can speak, Chinese
and they've been brought up right. Like
Spot
they're
on.
under the size, they're under the haze.
Correct.
They've had the teaching to be successful, and they've got the added ability that they are local, which everyone wants to go to an Aussie, or if you're Chinese, you want to go to a Chinese trainer.
I think the good ones go to the good trainers. They kept their ears open, and the bad ones that went to the good trainer, I think they just did not listen at all. So.
What do we think about Golden 60? Will we see him return to the tracks, or do we think he's done?
I think he's done. I think what more can he do? He's a freak. I personally, I got to see Winx race once. She was probably my favourite horse of all time, but seeing that horse at Sha Tin sometimes when he was letting rip at his best, he's a phenomenal animal. I still remember his first trial at Sha Tin. I was standing there, everyone was talking about him, and he's got a bit of an aura about him. He's not a big horse. He's leggy, sort of athletic type, but Christ, he's got to turn a foot when he wants to.
Now, James says that Romantic Warrior is, without a doubt, best horse he's sat on.
Yep.
He said that for a weight for age horse, he just has that will to win. Do you think, from what you've seen, Romantic Warrior can become one of the all-time greats and sit there alongside Golden 60 and all the fellow champions?
Yeah, I was a bit of a knocker on Romantic Warrior at first. I don't know what you were like, but I didn't think he, could have been the next Golden 60, but I don't know if he's ever going to be the next Golden 60. He's just something about that horse. It's just, he is who he is, but what that horse did in Japan was pretty special. And for J-Mac to say that he's ridden some pretty good horse flesh, you must give him some feel.
He's winning the Cox Plate was huge as well.
Spot on.
Like, Brightside had all the favours and he still pipped him by a nose. And his run in Japan, as you said, huge. Had to push one out of the way. And even his win in Hong Kong before that, like they set the race up to beat him. It's 3 deep at a stage. He got taken on. And at the 400, I thought, oh, here we go. He's going to get beat. And he just fought back.
He just looks like that horse no matter what. He just picks up and lifts and lifts and lifts. And he just doesn't seem to just have an expiry date on him.
He's just as good, in my opinion, as Golden 60.
And I think they'll probably say he could be even better because he did travel. He's travelled.
Oh, 100%, which is the other horse hasn't. And the other horse doesn't need to, though.
Yep, spot on.
Alrighty, team. Love and loathe team. Can we talk about the Broncos absolutely disappearing at Suncorp on Saturday? Surely that is your loathe, Luke.
Yeah, it was this week. Look, I'm a Broncos fan, but that's just appalling. They had one real go at making a crack at the finals, and they were sort of tipped to be favourites this year, and they performed half the season like that, and then shit the bed, for lack of a better word. And then that was just like, I wasn't able to watch it, but I remember checking the score at one point, and I nearly threw the phone out the window. I know you're a Broncos fan, so I'd love to hear your opinion on this big fella.
How are you feeling, Campo?
It's disgraceful. I don't know. I don't know, if you can't get up for a game like that, there's some issues somewhere.
I think you and I could have played better.
Yeah, I would probably think we could. I would have been a bit puffed out. But that was, I did watch it and it was just appalling. I think those big name players might need to have a little bit of a reality check, but coach might be a bit of froth and bubble too.
Yeah, I love Kevy on a personal level, but there's a lot of whispers about should he be there, should he not be there, and it's hard because ultimately it comes down to him. Like, your players can play terrible, but he's in control of the players.
It's a bit like training horses. If the horse goes no good, you're the one to blame straight away.
You trainers can pot a jock though. I've seen it before. We don't get him fit, mate. We don't get him fit. We can steer him up the arse of one or fall off him, but
I am a big believer in that though. Like, yes, Kevy can tell him to do this, do that, but the players still have to go out there and perform. in a game like that where your season's on the line, if you can't get up for that when you've got a packed out stadium, your home stadium, there's issues and there's big issues.
You've played footy, mate. Like, is it a lack of respect for the coach, or is it the senior players not taking charge of the younger players? Like, what is it? Because the ability's there. It's just the game's not, for whatever reason.
I honestly can't put it down to one thing. Just there's not one thing. I think it's preparation. I think it's how serious you take it. And I think, like you said, they were tipped to be the favourites this year. So that kind of pressure, that kind of mentality, they are a young team. So maybe they roll through all week thinking they've got it covered, just go through the motions of training, catch and pass, and then turn up just not being as serious. And you can usually tell before you get on the field. Like, you'll be warming up and you'll just know it's just not
no
there
vibes,
today. No.
nothing. But that's it. Like, look, I've never played footy, obviously. But I imagine you get out there as a young fella and you go, like, fuck, this is our grand final. If we're ever going to make the grand final, like, we need some serious ass kicking. And the first person I'd be looking to is Reynolds.
Mhm.
And you need him to rally around. And then I'm sure Reynolds is looking to Kevy to go, fuck, I got like 13, 14 boys looking at me. Like, I need your support. And it just, obviously, it starts at the top and filters down. But then
Yeah.
it wasn't even close. Like, if it was 38-40, you'd be like, fuck, just the defense let us down. Or if it was, if it was 12-10 or something, you'd be like, oh, fuck, we got unlucky. But you got whopped. And
Is it
could have been,
like a confidence issue or like what? You just think
It's just a matter of turning up. Like,
Yeah.
you'll know you'll be warming up and there'll be like a couple decibels like lower in talking, the team chat. There might be someone just sit on his phone instead of doing his usual stretch routine. Like, there's
you're right in
nothing
what
in
you said.
particular.
Preparation is
everything.
everything. Preparation's key.
it affects
Yeah.
everyone too. Like, you know yourself, you go to the races and you're like, fuck, I'm going to have a good day.
Yeah.
Got 3
Yep.
favourites, going to have a fucking big day. You perform better than, fuck,
Yeah.
I got 6
Yeah.
30-1 horses. I don't want to be here. Whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Speaking of favourites, they got the job done for me last weekend. Storm Boy and Autumn Glow just proved to us that they are a league above the rest. But it was Pinstriped coming through to break his first Group 1, just knocked it out of the way. Trainer Enver Yusevic, that was his first Group 1, and Ben Allen's second Group 1. So, God, you can only imagine the celebrations around Melbourne, hey?
This is hard to do, but the only thing better than the Wiz winning the race was his Instagram post after.
He
And
was the ultimate troll.
He's so good. And I don't know if you've seen it, and if you haven't, you need to get online and see it. But that UFC reference with him and Brightside, and then the overlay song, take a bow, Wiz.
Yeah, that was just iconic, honestly. And then even DJing in the silks, just you don't
That's
see
just it.
many
He's look, we'd love to get you on the pod, mate, if you're about. But look,
come to the Gold
he's
Coast.
he's good for racing. He's good for the young people, and
Mhm.
like, look, it's a bit of tongue in cheek, and there's no malice there, but it is funny. It's funny to see he got the job done. Everyone was tipping Jenny or Mr. Brightside, and he stormed over the top to knock them both off. So look, point all the fingers you want, mate. Like, you got the
I
trophy
agree.
at home.
It's good for racing.
We don't see many jockeys, especially videoing themselves and putting that out there when they are partying or celebrating a big win. Do you think we maybe need to see more of that to encourage that thrill of racing and
There's
the win?
too many do-gooders in this world that people want to complain and whinge because they're out on the piss. Like, who cares?
But is
like-
that more the media side of
It's-
things?
yeah.
Do you think we're just
Yeah.
crucifying them for celebrating?
It's hard too, because it is the sport of kings, right? So,
Yeah.
like, I'll put this question to you. Like, you love what the Wiz did, right?
Yep.
If your kid went and won a Group 1 tomorrow,
Yep.
and then he was out on the piss spraying bottles and this, that, and the other, you'd give him a clip under the ear, wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially at his age, like I would. And then especially if he had to ride the next day. I did look at that when he won the Group 1. I checked the next day if he was riding. He was still riding. He wasn't riding until race 5, or race 4. But it's so much pressure goes into it. It's a Group 1 day. He goes out, has a bit of fun. He's not killing anyone. He's not doing anything wrong. You still got people saying, oh, you shouldn't be celebrating like that. Like, come on.
It
Like
goes
if-
back to what we were saying before of we worked such tough hours.
Yeah.
You're on 6-7 days a week, and especially from a jockey's perspective, you're wasting riding work, all of those things, and then to be denied or crucified for celebrating, it just
Yeah.
seems a bit.
I think it's your
Contradictory.
life too. Like, you spend your whole life trying to get that Group 1.
Yep.
And then you should be able to do what you want after it. And you look at like the NFL or the NBA, they win a championship. They've got snow goggles on, spraying
yeah.
bottles in the
Yep.
in the tent. Like, and that's the way it should be. Like, you work hard all season,
Correct.
you get paid to do it, and that's your release.
Yeah, it happens in every sport. Like you see the rugby league, State of Origin, prime example. Those guys are winning a game on a Wednesday night, and then they fast forward on the cameras back into the change rooms. They're on the 4X Golds. If you don't back it up on Saturday, then there's the problem. Then maybe take it away. But if you're backing it up and doing your job, I'm all for it.
We've both been involved in a couple of mad Mondays. Me on the sidelines, but yeah, they are wild. And that look, some of those things probably shouldn't be on camera, but at the same point, you got to let your hair down.
Hangover's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
If you don't show up the next day, you're a weak bastard. But you're self-inflicted. You got pissed for a reason, so you got to show up. But he did. He showed up the next day and rode well. Good on him. Hopefully he continues to celebrate the way he does, and he doesn't change for anyone.
I'd like to see number 3. Hopefully it's bigger and better than the last one.
All right, well, Luke, your Tenacity Cranes lift of the week. We saw Rise of Dawn lead the whole way during race 8 at Caulfield last Saturday. He had some of us tearing up our tickets at the furlong, though. He looked like he just wasn't going to hold on, but Mickey D just kept him going through the line just to secure that win. What were your thoughts about that ride?
Huge run. Still 50-50 on if I give the lift of the week to Mickey D himself or Rise at Dawn, because both were huge efforts. He led at a decent pace, and he let him go early, in my opinion. And at the 200, you would have been ripping your ticket up. He was gone. He was beat, and he picked himself off the ground. And look, if you put the replay up and you watch it, you think he's going to run 6 at the furlong, and he wins. So huge effort, horse and jockey, and I'm sure Mickey earned his ride and feed that day.
It was quite an impressive run, and he's won 3 on the trot now. That was his first win at listed level. Do we think we can see him go on to progress and do bigger and better things?
The best thing I like, and you can back me up here, is the good horses have a will to win. Like, even when they're beat, they'll find an extra half length themselves, whether or not you've got superstar jockey on or no one. And that's what I loved about the run on Saturday, is he was gone for all money, and he was entitled to. He didn't have an easy run. He did all the work. He did everything against him to make him run 3rd, 4th or 5th. And he stuck his head out in front on the sheer will that he didn't want to get beat. So whether or not he ends up being just a listed horse at listed level, he's done enough for me to go, he wants to be a racehorse, and he's a good racehorse at that.
Yeah, you're spot on saying the tough ones want to do it, and it doesn't matter what you do with them. Leading up, they'll still do it on race day. They show up, capital T with tough, and that's a trainer's dream when they show up.
100%. And that's the thing. Look, your jockey's job is to get an extra sort of half length out of a horse.
Yep.
But a good horse is that extra nose. Like when you're head and head down the line and you're sort of Bone Crusher, our Waverley Star, and you can pip the other horse on the line, it's the difference between sort of 70 grand or 700,000. And there's a bit of money involved. Yeah.
Well, that day we also saw your Contender Pretender series go live in the Memsey. Gentleman Roy just had an enormous run. He firmed from $11 into $7 for a close third behind some of the great horses like we discussed, Pinstriped, Mr. Brightside. But poor old Jenny almost blew up half the nation's spring dreams for her. Adam, I feel like your attention was probably turned to your old mate Antino, though. What did you make of that run?
Yeah, no, he's a bit of a funny horse. I don't know if he's a genuine Group 1 horse.
We were discussing that last week, yeah.
He's just got a few traits that he needs to iron them out before being that good, genuine Group 1 contender. I had him for one start. Tony's done an incredible job with him. He's one of those horses. He's a bit quirky. I think... I probably am potting the ride. I don't think it was a great ride for a horse like him. I think he's a horse you've got to get stuck into and make him want to do it.
I was going to ask that question. He is a horse that always seems luckless. There's a hard luck story. Every run he misses the kicker, gets himself into a bad spot, makes his run late. Are we constantly looking at a horse who puts himself in those positions, or is it no matter who the jockey is, no one can seem to iron him out and seem to affiliate themselves with his quirks?
I personally would love to see a National Ruler on him. I thought Jimmy did a super job.
He needs to cut in half.
Correct.
Like, for lack of a better word, he needs an aggressive
He was always a bit of a cheeky horse. We got him cut. I remember early on he had to be cut. He just had some, naughty traits about him. But yeah, I would love to see someone like Nash on him, and make him really want to do it. I know he wears the blinkers, but I think a rider like Nash would spark him up, a real strong rider. He's a bit like a Reece Walsh, He's got all the ability in the world, but it's just when it comes to the...
Goes back to the Rise of Dawn thing. If they don't want to win, they won't win.
They won't
win.
And it could be the fear, at the end of his career, he probably might not ever win a Group 1.
I think that was it. If he was going to win one, that was it.
Correct. And, it's up to Tony, the owners, now to try and find it.
To be fair, I was swinging off his tail because there was a little side bet back here with someone behind camera, and there's a carton of gold ready to land on my table any minute. So, yeah.
Well, Pride of Jenny, it was only the beginning of her campaign. Luke, you said you didn't expect much from her because of that. She's pulled up, and Kieran said that she had an elevated temperature, bloods weren't perfect, indicated a small virus. Do you think we just put a line through that run, or have we seen the best of Jenny?
I was calling it on Thursday. It's a barrier trial for her, for lack of a better word. Like, look, I know there's the excuses, elevated temp and bloods, and I hope she gets through that. But I'm just assuming she was getting fit or she had a bit of an off week. But look, I never expected her to win.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
her grand final. She's going towards a Cox Plate. Like, why would you knock her around? I imagine Declan just give her a bit of a dig at the top of the straight, and she didn't respond as she normally would, and he just sat up on her.
Looked
And you
after
would
her.
too. Like,
Yep.
there's no reason for her to be killed in that race.
I agree. I thought it was funny during the week listening to certain media people talking about her, saying Kieran would have her wound up, like to run fast sectionals first up. Like, I don't understand why he would do that, and he wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? She was going to be fat. She was going to be vulnerable. She's a superstar. Put a pen through it, she'll come back, and then everyone will go, "Oh, she's a great horse." Again.
Yeah.
What people don't understand too is you can trial them, but when they're such good horses, they need to race with good horses.
Correct.
A trial never equates to racing
and-
conditions ever.
And it's not even the same. It's like, firstly, the distances aren't the same. But what goes again too, you can't just put him in any other Joe Block Harry race, because she's going to carry 69 kilos and you're going to kill her anyway. So it's a catch-22, because the owner's got to front a
Yep.
fee to run in a Group 1 that the whole team know that she's not going to run well in, because she's not primed for that
There's
race.
no fitness like match fitness.
Yeah, I guarantee. Like, look, I'm not. Do we know what she's going in next? What's her next run?
I think he was saying he's maybe just going to wait to see how she pulls
See how
up
she
next
pulls
year.
up. I guarantee you, if she's back to normal,
Yeah.
and she's a mile 2,000, I'd have your money on.
Yeah,
Like,
correct.
she'll be two different horses.
For this week's Contender and Pretender, we're moving on to the Valley for the Moya. Luke, what have you got for us?
It's an interesting race for me too, because it is the Group 1, but I don't think it's the main race of the day, to be honest. The race in Sydney is, in my opinion, a stronger race. But for this Group 1, and you can't knock it on its own, my contender is definitely Lady of Camelot. She's got no weight on her back. She's got a good pilot. Round the Valley, she'll be in front. I was tossing up between her and Estrella, and the only thing that stopped me going the other way was probably the weight. And then you've got the old boy going around, I Wish I Win. Now, on level terms, he's the best horse in the race, but the Valley isn't a level terms race. The weights aren't level terms, and I just think he gets that touch further back than he probably needs to be to win a race like this. Can he flash home and run second or third? 100% he can, but I just don't think he can pick up Lady of Camelot or Estrella out in front like they can be.
It's definitely going to be an interesting race, and especially with those more fine-tuned older racehorses versus the likes of Lady of Camelot, who's coming off of her 2-year-old campaign. It's always an interesting contest to see if those 2-year-olds will train on into that 3-year-old season.
Oh, 100%. Like, you'll know this yourself, Campo, is it's a lot harder when those teenagers,
Correct.
and they're virtually teenagers, and the growth hormones in all of them sort of catch up, and they all on level playing fields. And you see it all the time, like those capitalist horses and that kind of thing. They're so good at early 2-year-olds, and they come out as 3-year-olds, and they back to an even playing field.
The way Gay and Adrian are going, they're flying, which is hard to knock them. But I'm a big believer in that. I always want to see the 2-year-olds go into their 3-year-old season and do it before you can say, okay, well, they're genuine Group 1 horses. Xtra was a bit disappointing, obviously, last start, but fresh and come back first up. She looks like a serious horse. Like, Camelot has to now go through its grades and take on tough season gallopers. Like, if she can do that first up, a serious horse.
6 kilos on a Group 1.
Yep.
Like, and
Around
then
the Valley.
and then 8.5 to the good old boy, I Wish I Win.
Yep.
Like, it's a big start.
Especially with their run style, obviously Gay and Adrian, they like them to be out in front and leading the whole way.
Yep.
At the Valley, the lightweight, how can you look anywhere else, really?
Well, even I Wish I Win, I think he's had one go at the distance, and that was a straight race at Flemington.
Yep.
Just
So,
completely different race. You
They're
can't even
two
look at it
different
as a
tracks.
form line.
You can't even get close. So,
No.
look, I just think the weight prevails here, and where that horse will be
Yep.
on speed, big help.
Jack, I know you're definitely turning your attention to the NFL season rather than the Moya. What's got you excited?
Season's about to kick off. We've had a really interesting preseason in the NFL. We've seen the big teams, the big names, the ones everyone we thought was going to do great go down. And I know everyone says it's preseason, you're playing your B graders to see how they go, but every team is. So it's pretty equal. My predictions for this year, I've got some pretty bold ones. I think you got Joe Burrow, who won the Heisman with over 90% of the votes, which is like the Brownlow or the Dally M Award of the college football. Sweeped it in, biggest landslide ever. He's over at Cincinnati, and he had an injury on his wrist late last year in November. So if he can get over that, his wrist is going to definitely lead them to maybe a Super Bowl. Who knows? I back them in. I also think the Jags, they've got a couple of young blokes in there pushing hard. They've got Evan Ingram, who's like a really good receiving tight end. And Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, who's also, he's the Joe Burrow era as well from Clemson. So I think every year that Trevor's been part of that team, they're finishing higher and higher up the ladder. So I think there's no reason why they can't be a little dark horse this year too. And of course, you've been waiting for it, but Pat Mahomes, they're looking for 3 in a row, which is the fantasy of the NFL. It's been done pretty much in every other sport except for that one. So can he get it done? They've got like more drive, more reason than ever to get it done this year. So hopefully they can. And I think the 49ers will be up there too, but I'm really keen to see Cincinnati Bengals and the Jacksonville Jags play this year for sure.
Oh, Luke, you're a Chiefs man, aren't you? What do you think there?
I'm a betting man, so I'll back any team that can win. But look, you can't go past Mahomes. He's got arguably a better receiving core than he did last year. Kelsey's getting on. I still think he's as good as ever. Whether or not he's got another season or two in him is a different story. Look, I really, really like the Ravens as well, and I like Philly. I think they're a couple of, I wouldn't say dark horses because they're in the betting, but they're definite chances to run over the top of the Chiefs. And like on a personal level, I'd love to see the Lions get one because they deserve it. Like they had a tough season last year. Dan Campbell's your real like salt of the earth guy. Like I love seeing his press conferences, and Goff getting kicked out of LA and ending up in Detroit has really shone a spotlight on himself, and he's done more for that city than anyone could have really expected. So I'd love to see him lift a Super Bowl trophy just for that fuck you to everyone who didn't believe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go, I want to know what everyone's looking forward to this weekend. For me, this weekend truly feels like spring. Everywhere we look, there's an Everest contender. We've got Giga Kick, Bella Nipotina, Private Eye, all up in the Concord, and half of the field in the Moyas eyeing off Everest also. But what actually really caught my eye this week when I was doing form was the prize money difference. The Concord is a Group 3 in Sydney, currently has $1 million prize pool. The Moyas are Group 1 in Melbourne, arguably a more prestigious race, and that's only $750,000. And like I can appreciate that they want the good horses in Sydney, make the Concord a lead-up race to the Everest, but that looks like a more Group 1 quality race than the Moya this year.
This is a good question for you. You got a really good mare. You take the Group 1 status or you take the money?
Group 1.
And that's it. It's a catch-22. Why do you think all those old geldings are running in Sydney?
Yeah.
It's a better field in Sydney than it is in Melbourne, in my
Prize
opinion.
money later on in life when she goes to be a brood mare.
100%.
Oh,
and
prize money doesn't matter when...
that's the hard part is everyone wants to see great racing and everyone wants to see the best of the best compete against the best of the best every week. And we'll see that in an Everest. So we're not going to miss out. But you just got this week, you've got all these old geldings go around for $1 million because the prize money's better in a Group 3. And then you've got these mares and fillies running in a Group 1 because their foal doubles in price when they get that Group 1 tag next to their name. So it's a weird concept to be having.
Spot on.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Luke, what are you looking out for this
It's
weekend?
a footy. Like, don't ring me tomorrow.
Okay, don't even think about it.
Don't ring me tomorrow. First game's on tomorrow. I'll have 7,000 multis.
I'll stay at my place this weekend then.
That'd be fine. If we win, we're fine. We'll go for dinner. And if we lose, you might have to pick up the coffee table that I flipped. But yeah, it's NFL season. Everyone who knows me well knows the drill. I'm in the zone. No weddings, no funerals, no bachelor parties, no nothing for the next 6 months until Super Bowl. But yeah, we're away.
Jack, I bet you're on the same page there.
I am. We got the bloody Spoon Bowl this weekend. Parramatta West Tigers. Tigers chasing 3 spoons in a row. That's going to be a great game. And delay it simply for you guys out there. You've got the Knights game. The winner of that one versus the Dolphins goes through to the top 8. And if it's a draw, that opens the door for, was it Raiders and... But yeah, it opens the door for another 2 teams to make it in, depending on who wins. So
Can we just get on camera who you support?
uh,
Can we?
The Spoon Bowl champions, the Parramatta Eels. Thank you very much.
That's your next promo reel, just so
Correct.
you know.
Thank you.
Cambo, what are
condolences.
you looking out for?
Thanks, Lukey.
I've got a couple of things. Hopefully, looking out that the grass returns in good order at the Gold Coast. That'll be a big plus.
Have we had anything? Have you had a horse run on it?
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
trials last week. A lot better. Would have been probably even better if we could have had another month or two, but unfortunately, we've got to get back on it. It looks a lot stronger. Jody and his team's done a super job. I think it's heading up, which we need it to. Definitely getting sick of the poly racing, but it's been, to be fair, we're very lucky that we've had the poly racing because,
Be jobless otherwise.
Exactly right. So that, but Catwalk Criminal Horses caused me a lot of headaches. She's in town, second up on the weekend. She was enormous first up after 14 months. If she could get another win next to her name, that would be it would tip off a good weekend.
All right, everyone, you heard it here first. Add her to your black book. Adam, thank you so much. Good luck on the weekend. It's been a pleasure having you here at Racing Extra.
No, thanks, guys. You're doing a super job.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll catch you all next week on Racing Extra, where we bring in a major racing enthusiast and UFC champion, Jack Jenkins, to discuss all things spring racing and his upcoming fight. Racing Extra is proudly brought to you by Corpshaw. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts for a next generation racing experience.